Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my review of the Whitetail Baiji Surfskate with Carver CX trucks. I did a part 1 of this because this board has two different mounting options. The first one with the nose mounted option is a little bit more geared at beginners. It's got a more stable base. And now I'm going to be reviewing it with the standard option where it's set up kind of normally as other surfskates would be set up. It's a really novel idea to have a board that can progress as you progress, but if you already have surf skating experience, this is the setup you'd be looking to from the beginning. So let's get into the review. So the Baiji deck is definitely on the smaller side, coming in at around 31 inches in length, with a wheelbase of just 14.5 inches. But with a setup with CX trucks or C5 trucks, that still works really well. And what it produces is a really snappy board that can make tight radius turns, but you can still pump and carve it quite well. And the nice thing about the small deck size is that it's very lightweight. So if you have a skateboarding background and you're used to a deck that's more this size, it's going to feel really good underfoot and familiar, but it still is going to carve well for you. You can probably see here there's a lot of shape to this board. It's got really good concave. There's also a lot of rocker in both the tail and the nose. So I find that's helpful because it gives you little pockets for your foot that help keep them in place. But one drawback to that with the nose is it's quite long on this board, and when my wife is using it, she sometimes finds she can get too far forward and then end up lifting the back wheels. So it's just something that might take some adjustment to if you're not used to having a nose on a surf skate, but personally I love it because it opens up a lot of other opportunities for advanced riding. On paper, I would have thought that this deck would be a little bit too short and narrow for my preference, but once I started using it, I realized it didn't really hinder my performance for pumping and carving. What I love about having a board with a nose like this is it opens up so much opportunity for high performance maneuvers. Nollie-based tricks are a breeze on this deck. You can do nose grinds, nose slides. It just opens up a whole new world of opportunities using this deck because there's not a lot of complete surf skates from major manufacturers that have enough of a nose to make these kind of tricks possible. The other huge advantage to having a nose with lift to it is when you're doing airs or ollie-based tricks. Having that lifted nose gives the side of your foot something to push against when you're sliding it up the board and trying to level the board out. Set up on CX trucks, I can even ride this board fakie pretty well, so you can see that action I'm talking about in this fakie ollie here. See, the nose lets my foot catch and level the board out. So helpful. The small size, the lightweight, the shorter wheelbase, the concave, and the nose on this board remind me a lot of a board that I really loved when I was starting to advance in surf skating, which was my little Sector 9 deck that I had paired with Carver C5s. And this board has a lot of similarities to that. So it's an excellent board for getting out and shredding on the street, doing slappy grinds, doing ollies over staircases. If you want to ride your board, whether it's a skateboard or a surf skate, just shredding the same way, this deck really supports that kind of riding. So it has a little bit of drawback when it comes to long distance pumping because of the shorter wheelbase, but it makes up for that with the versatility. Just like that Sector 9 C5 setup I had before, this board is no slouch in the skate park. Paired with the CX, it means you can still do some surf skate pumping, but really ride the transition well. You can ride fakie well. The board, just with the concave, it sticks to your feet when you get into birch slides and laybacks. You saw I was able to manage that wall ride on the first try there. It just has a really good feel underfoot. The concave and the nose and tail help give you pockets so your feet stay put. So the board does really well in tight space carving. It works well for street applications. It rides well in the park and the bowl. This is a pretty good all-around little board. So who would I recommend this for? I actually think there's a few groups that this board is really well suited for. First off, like me, if you're an advanced surf skater who's capable of doing high-level tricks, the lightness of this board, the concave, the nose and tail make it really ideal for shredding on a surf skate. The other group that I think this would benefit is a smaller rider who's looking to get into surf skating. Because the board has that short wheelbase, it's nice and light, it's got a narrower size than most surf skates. If you have smaller feet, this is going to be easier to learn to carve and pump on. The third group that I think will benefit from this deck are skateboarders who are trying to get into surf skating. The shape of this board is going to have a really familiar feel if you're used to skateboarding and if you want to continue doing some skate tricks while surf skating. So that's going to be a perfect fit, I believe. So who is this board not ideal for? To me, if you're a rider who's on the larger side with a really wide stance, the board's just going to be too small for you. Likewise, if you're someone who's mainly interested in cruising and not interested in getting into high performance tricks or maneuvers, you just want a board to get you from place A to place B, it might not be right for that. Because of the short wheelbase, it's really ideal for pumping around in tight spaces, but it would be a lot of work to pump it long distances. So anyway, I know there's been a lot of interest in this board since people have been seeing me riding it on Instagram and that, so I hope you found this review useful. I'm going to put a link to the company's website down in the description so you can check them out. They have some other models as well, including one model of Surfskate that I'm currently riding and really enjoying, so there's going to be another review coming up on that. Thanks for watching, guys.